everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the Parenthood. I'm so excited to have you guys tuning in today because this is going to be a topic that I'm sure you're going to be talking about. We're talking about responsible parenting through puberty. And so I've got some of my friends joining me for this topic that I think have some great insight, and I think this conversation is probably going to be a bit entertaining too. So we've got Pastor Mike here, who's raised 3 boys through this difficult phase. We also have our kids director, Ashley, as well as Casey Sylvain, Pastor Dave's wife, who has, how many? 3 kids?
And
so, Four, that's right. And so we're going to talk just a little bit about our own experiences and hopefully help some folks out there through raising kids through this phase. First up, to break the ice, this is always kind of an awkward topic, and so I want to do a little word association game. So these are some things that come up through puberty, and so we're just going to toss out some words, and I want you to give me a good definition or a good story, something that comes to mind when you hear these words.
Okay.
You guys ready?
No, but go ahead. Here's the sad part. Y'all are still in this battle. I have already overcome this and did not think I had to relive it.
Yeah. Welcome back.
All right. Ashley, I want you to give us our first word.
Our first word is sex.
Sex. Okay. I can say that word. Sex. Right. All right. So puberty is the time that traditionally now, a child that's going through this phase begins to start to formulate what sex is. Mm-hmm. And responsible parenting
important
says that we have to get out ahead of them going to their peers or relying on media to inform what sex actually is. We should be the ones that are shaping what sex is. Yeah. And not by them overhearing. And what I mean by that is, never mind.
Woo! We said it was going to be a good time. I think part of what we want to do is just open the communication with our kids. Just make sure that we are able to talk about whether it's sex in particular or, their body parts and how they're changing, like being able to say the words in front of your kids, to say penis and vagina and sex. And I'm just going to throw all of them out there, all of the words. But, just truly, breast, when you say them, it's kind of awkward. But when you feel comfortable talking about it and it kind of releases the awkwardness of the conversation, and it allows you to have that conversation with your child because they don't know what's going on. They don't know why things are growing or why they're feeling certain ways or, all of the things that are changing in their bodies. So if we as parents are ready to responsibly talk through those things with our kids, that's what's going to make the difference in them being able to manage their emotions and manage their feelings and manage the urges and all of those things. So I think it's really important for us to be able to personally say those things and help them through it.
And I don't want them to feel like those things are dirty.
Right.
Like they're not. Mm-hmm. They were not meant to be perverted like they are. They are meant to be beautiful in the right context.
Right.
And that's what I teach ours.
Yeah.
Right. Well, sometimes being able to talk, I think being able to talk about these things and somewhat normalize the conversation. It takes some of the allure off of it because things that are mysterious draw you. Yeah. And what we did, the way we handled this was I had set up a pattern where at 8 years old, 12 years old, 16 years old, every 4 years, I would take the one boy that hit that birthday and they got to choose a trip within reason, and I took them on the trip. And just the 2 of us, we just talked and we just worked through things. Now, somewhere between 8 and 12, this conversation has to happen. But it had to happen before the 12th birthday. But at 12, we would do something else. I would go and I would buy them a gold chain because I had always worn a gold chain. Mine broke a few years ago, so they're mad at me still because I don't have one on right now. But I would go buy a gold chain, and then we had baby rings that we had bought when they were born. And so we would give them the gold chain, and when we gave it to them just before we left for the trip, their mother would take the chain, put the ring on the chain, and put it around their neck. Then we would go. Now, we had already had the conversation because, again, 12 is too late.
Absolutely.
And we'd already had the conversation, but this was an attempt by us to establish a rite of passage that had a purity element and a symbol to it.
I like that.
And so that's how we handled it. Whether it worked or not, that's a whole nother thing, and I need Dr. Phil.
This is the real here. This is the really real, honest and open communication here.
Yeah. I feel like y'all are going to see a black man blush.
That has now become my goal for this conversation.
What do you say when your child starts to grow hair in funny places?
Mine's counting it. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, Evan's like, they're 7. Look, they have 7 now.
Mom,
I'm like,
I have
can't.
6 today. Like, it's real. It's real. It happens.
No. You're not there yet. You gotta have 3 boys, and when you look at your 3 boys and say, "That's disgusting," go shave the toilet. Anyway, that moment happened in my world.
So good.
Wow.
So good.
Sorry,
I
anyway.
remember my mom telling me, she goes, you shouldn't have to clean soap. Soap cleans. It's just like,
What's the next word?
All right. I'm feeling encouraged now.
Like we've opened up now.
That's right.
what? This is gonna take a while, y'all. Bear with us. What were some of the challenges of raising boys or girls through this season? So I've got a girl that's actually 2 that are going through this season. But talk about some more about boys.
Well, I always described it as God knew I wasn't man enough to raise girls, so He gave me boys. Because
no pressure.
I'm telling you. With the boys, what we really did try to do was keep an open conversation with them, and I think in an overarching sense, it allowed them to come to me, less so to their mom, but it allowed them to come to me and say, I'm struggling with this, I'm worried about this, I'm wondering about this. These conversations didn't happen often, but they're not conversations that are going to happen often. But at least they knew that it was possible to have the conversation.
Yeah.
And I don't think, well, no, I can back up. I fully know that we didn't do it all right. But I knew when I was growing up, nobody ever talked to me about this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody ever talked to me about this stuff. And I had no idea what was going on. And I didn't want my boys to go through that. And so we did talk about it. So and I just think it opened up the conversation. I think that made it easier for them to go through it.
I think it's so key just to have the conversation, but also the build up to that particular conversation is just as important.
Right.
To set the environment where there's open communication, open dialogue that can happen, where your child feels comfortable enough coming to you, or somebody. Like, that's my thing. It doesn't even have to be me, but it can be a trusted. It could be my wife or somebody that's trusted, that we kind of set them up as, we know you won't always feel comfortable talking to mom and dad. We want you to be.
Yeah.
But if there's somebody else that, is in our circle that you feel comfortable going to, we want to encourage that.
Yeah.
I will say one other thing about raising boys that we worked on. It came to mind as you were saying that. We worked very hard on helping them understand that sex was not a dirty word. They knew that their mom and I liked each other, and we grossed them out as often as we could. I
don't like kids. I just love my wife.
Seriously, y'all just happened.
We also, I wanted them to, particularly because they were boys, I wanted them to understand how men should treat women.
Right.
And I wanted them, I taught them early on this phrase that I've used in sermons before, which is all men are dogs unless they prove otherwise. And your job is to prove otherwise.
Gotcha.
And I said, I'm not calling you a name. I'm just telling you that you need to understand that women are to be cherished, to be cared for, and the way the media portrays them is not the way that should work. And so we wanted them to see. I wanted to make sure they saw how I treated their mother. I wanted to make sure they understood. I'm going to take your mom on a trip next week. It's to a cool place, and we're going to have an awesome time.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking you, and I don't feel guilty about it. You know,
Because I like her a lot.
right, right. And if you want to know whose side I'm on in an argument, you just check and see who I crawl up in bed with tonight.
Yep.
And it's not going to be you. You know, and so I wanted them to understand that too. Sorry.
I feel like we did a lot with our boys, just kind of as we were saying in the beginning.
How old are your boys?
So we have an 11-year-old son, a 9-year-old son, a 5-year-old daughter, and a 2-year-old son. So right now, there's a lot. There's a lot going on. I also like my husband.
That's good. Praise the Lord.
Yes, thank you, Jesus. You knew what I needed. You knew what I needed, okay?
Moving on.
I love him. I love you, baby.
Moving on.
I love you, baby. But one thing that my husband and I really tried to do with our kids, I can see the product of that now with the boys, is we did use the proper words.
Right.
And, we have stories, like, this is your penis, and you want to clean it, and you want to do all the things. And, when they're 5 and 6 and 7 years old, waking up and like, Mom, look, it's so big. What's going on? Like, it's like, oh, okay, yes, that's good. That's how your body's supposed to work. And, that is the beginning.
I forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
Like, whoa.
That first time you get that strut. Why is he strutting?
Oh yeah, I see. Okay.
Gotcha.
So good. But that really is, for all the parents that don't yet have the, puberty aged kids, that really is the beginning of your conversation with your kids. Just helping them to understand that that's normal for that's, a natural reaction for your body. So really just starting the conversation there and building upon it so that they do feel like they can talk to you about their body and the things that are happening. Even with our oldest, he has recently decided that there is a young lady that he is a fan of.
Wow.
We are not
11?
yet. We are not allowed to have
Too late,
titles to these things. He's had a girlfriend since kindergarten.
Yeah.
But now he's like, no, like I really like her. And so the biggest thing for me, I'm like on my own. I'm like, yes. Like I did it right. He has come to me, like he'll get off the bus and he's running, Mom, I got something to tell you. But can you just make sure you don't tell anybody? And I'm like, yes, like to know that
So
my
we're going to talk
child-
about that right now.
I'm not gonna say what he said, but just to know that that my husband and I have built that relationship with our kids, that they feel comfortable and they're excited to tell us. Like they know that we will keep their things confident, that we will be there to tell them truthful things. That's what's important, and that really does start, from a young age, just building that relationship to what you were talking about, building that open dialogue and that communication and calling it the right things, and just building a trust-filled relationship is really important. But I promise I'm not going to share your secrets.
I was so close to saying his name, too. I was like...
The one, with it. No, just kidding. Yes, good stuff.
So I'll jump in as a father of girls. I remember a few years ago, because I can't believe it's already been a couple of years, but I get that dreaded call. I was at work and my wife
already
was
know.
home, and we had crossed that threshold for the first time.
She had a friend come visit.
She had a friend come
Right.
visit
Right.
that would stay for a little while.
Yeah.
And
AKA her period, because
Right.
we're using proper
Right.
terms
That's-
here.
sorry.
Right, we're using proper terms.
Menstruation had
There you go,
begun.
yes.
And I was tasked with going out and getting the proper products. And my wife had sent me out before, but I just wasn't mentally prepared for it to be for my daughter now. And so literally, like, I'm standing, I swear the aisle was probably as big as a football stadium. And I'm just,
so many options.
I'm just standing there, like, gawking at the wall. and I call my wife and, like, all right, which ones do I get? And she's telling me what get the variety pack. Great, the variety pack. That's great. And it's like this jumbo thing. And I'm like, and they have on the front of it all the different sizes and what they're for. And I was like, oh, wings. Or whatever that means. Let's do that. That sounds great. It's like you. Anyway, I'm not going anywhere.
I'm just
with
praising the Lord that I didn't have that moment. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
As soon as the crazy thing is, as soon as I started getting comfortable with my oldest, our kids are 2 years apart, and so here comes the next one, and I was just like, no. And so literally right now in my home, there are not one, not two, but three individuals that it seems like when they're all in the house together, the stars and moons and cycles all align.
You got one intense week at your house.
And so Chase and I, we've implemented.
We leave.
Yeah. We some people call it vacation.
you call it escape.
Yeah,
Right?
it's a monthly thing. I'm so
The girls
glad.
do a staycation.
That's right,
And y'all
that's right.
got it.
Yeah, but it's fun to talk to. It's fun to have community in
Absolutely.
times like that because. I mean, every guy, even I don't care how much we've prepared for it, you're just not ready. And when it comes, it's good to have other guys that have girls that have gone through it or are going through it that you can kind of, hey guys, I don't drink, but let's hit the bar. I just want to be in the environment.
Let's talk.
Well, just,
Look, I'm gonna get a Coke, but I just need the environment
just
to
want to
chat.
be in this environment right now. What about you guys? What sorts of interesting conversations or situations have come up in your household?
Well, for us, I have also talked to my
I hope
guys.
I keep my job after this. Glad you're
You
here.
will.
You're good. All right.
I have talked to mine about girls because not only they're going through something, the boys, but the girls in their life are too at school.
Sure.
So if one day a girl that you're talking to is really nice and the next day they're like really mean or crying, like you not necessarily did anything. Like
Right.
women just
That's the most
are
confusing thing
Oh
in
my
the world.
goodness. I
It
didn't even
is.
think of that.
But it's like there's
hasn't even
no
crossed my mind.
control.
Yeah.
Like I remember going through that. There really is no control because you're inside going, "Why am I crying?" Like, things are happy, but they just can't control it.
So good.
But it also is the same thing for boys too. Like
Yeah.
mine, he is full blown puberty right now. And full blown. And
Stacey, I feel like I should have you
Really
elaborate.
Really hands.
What does that,
Really
what does that
hands.
mean?
1 minute he's happy, the next minute we're sad, the next minute we're mad, and there's no reason, and he can't tell me a reason.
Teen angsty.
Yeah,
Mm.
just he doesn't know, and he'll go, "Mom, I don't know why I feel this way," and I'm really happy that he can tell me that
Yes.
because I have found myself frustrated, like.
Sure.
I can't keep up. I'm getting whiplash with you right now. What is going on with you? And I have to stop and remember, like, this is uncontrollable most of the time.
Yeah.
There are some times where they're just being ornery,
Yeah.
and you've gotta nip that. But with him, I can tell when it's him or when it's just involuntary.
Yeah.
So I have to remind him that all of his peers are doing the same thing he's
Sure.
doing, and he's got to have grace for them just as much as I have to have grace for him.
That's the that's the temptation, though, right? You're going through something that's brand new, and you have to put yourself in their mindset.
Yeah.
This is something that's never happened to me before, and I don't know how to respond to it. And I also feel like it's just me, and there's something wrong with me.
Right.
And this is a great opportunity. Like I have a fuller, broader view of what discipleship is. That it isn't just walking someone through the Bible and their relationship with Christ. It is coming alongside of them to do life with them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is a great opportunity. I know puberty and all this, it's a time to like hunker down and just hold on, grit your teeth, and get through it.
Yeah.
But this is really an opportunity for us as parents to walk alongside of our kids and help them to process things along the way.
Yep.
What do you think?
I know I just threw something.
I agree.
It was like hot potato.
Seriously.
Yes.
No.
So
No,
good.
I do agree. I think you've got to walk alongside them because every kid's going to go through this. A lot of it's going to be the same.
Right.
But they are in their personality, in their mentality, in their emotional state. They're going to go through it in different ways.
Yeah.
And I
Absolutely.
don't disagree with you. The problem with teenage boys' cycles is there's no indication it's starting.
Exactly.
You know, it comes
Yeah.
and it happens and there.
moons.
So you know,
Someday.
it was crazy. I mean, there were these moments where they would just go through this. Now they pick on me and tell me I'm going through menopause. You know, but
Dad's crying
you
again.
know, but when they were younger, I would say, dude, you're on your period. You know, and they would hate that, but I think
it's
we
true.
came to understand
Like that's
that
just
you're
the way that
having
you
an emotion.
indicated,
Yes,
right?
that's
Yeah.
the way I indicated
Yeah.
that you're in an emotional state right now.
Yeah.
And if you keep it up, I'm going to end up in one too. And so, but you do have to walk through it because they all did. All three of them went through this entirely differently.
Yeah.
And the way they reacted, the way they dated, the way they reacted to us and other people was totally different in between the three of them. There was no practice on the first one that was helpful on the second.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just being quite honest about it.
Yeah, but I
So-
feel like
Fine.
that's the part of the hard part for me is I've never done this before.
Right.
Like with the
Yeah.
with the oldest, it's completely new, and it will be new with all of the other ones as well.
Yeah.
But you know, each stage that you get to as a parent, you've never done that before.
Right.
So
Sure.
trying to figure out how to navigate, you know, do we talk about this or do we save this for later? Or just knowing how to handle the different situations and the different things that come up has been really difficult for me, and just making sure that I'm doing the best that I can to guide my children appropriately and responsibly has been, you know, kind of heavy on me, just because we're doing it for the first time too, and we are learning just as much as they are.
Every experience is really just a general, broad experience because it doesn't specifically apply to the next child.
Correct.
Because you have to
Correct.
treat each of them as individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all have their own nuances, they all have their own personalities,
Yep.
and they all want to be treated uniquely
Yeah.
to a degree. And so that's really a challenge. I'll throw this out. How do you keep your sanity amidst all of the
Big.
transformations that are happening?
Yeah.
Leave town.
Leave town.
Yeah.
That's a good
You just go, just vacation.
No,
Yeah.
in
As much
some
as
ways,
you can.
in some ways, I'm serious. You get your sanity, the two of you. You've
Right.
got to, because in the end, and I would explain this to them. Your job, I would tell my boys this. Your job is to leave. And one of these days, that's what you're going to do.
Ours is
Yeah.
to stay.
She's going to stay here with me. So you know what? We're going to go away for a little bit, and we're gonna go on a date, or we're going to go away for an overnight, or we're going to whatever that is. I think that's where I found sanity. Now you can bury yourself in work, but that's just divorcing yourself from the family situation.
Yeah.
That's
That's
escape.
not helpful.
That's not a
Escaping.
good thing.
Yeah.
And so when Tina and I would try to come together, we would also do the normal thing, which was, I assume this is normal, I hope it is, which was make sure we spoke
and make sure the boys understood that if they ever played one of us against the other one,
Oh yeah.
I was going to double whatever the punishment was.
Yeah.
It was originally going to be.
Yeah.
Because we had to be on the same page.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Pastor Craig Rochelle has a funny way of putting that with his kids. I think he has like 5 or 6 kids or something like that. So he was like, when it was just him and his wife and their first child, it was like a press defense. Like they could both come together and challenge that child back. When they got to 2, it was man to man. Like each one take one. But once they got 3 and above, they were in zone.
Yeah,
It's
number.
just like
No, I had a church member tell me after when the third one was born, now you'll be a real parent.
Yeah.
And I was actually
'Cause you're
offended by it
outnumbered.
because I was you're outnumbered.
You didn't know until you got there.
So by the time you get there, it's divide and conquer because you got to have at least one of them on your side.
That's right.
You know, so
And bribes are totally okay.
Absolutely.
Ice cream.
Absolutely.
Popsicles already.
oh,
the
dude,
2-year-old.
no, we're talking
popsicles.
about puberty. It's money.
That's
That's true.
So-
That's true, Al. That's true. 100%.
Is it possible? I don't even know why I'm throwing this question out because I know the answer. Is it possible to be frustrated by your children, but at the same time able to convey love and understanding?
Not just possible; it's imperative.
I feel like that is really the biggest part of getting this right and continuing that foundation for your relationship, because when they're little bitty and they first come out, oh, they're such a blessing. Oh my goodness, they're
And
just
they're really
perfect.
these sinful little bundles of stank.
They cry and poop and all of the things.
You overlook all of that because they're cute.
You forget.
Yeah.
You forget. Well, hopefully I'll forget this whole part too. But when they're little, it's easy to see that they're such a blessing, and it's so it's just so amazing. But then when you get to this time where there's attitudes and confrontations and flat out refusal, like I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Wait, I need my spirit to come back in my body. It just left me. Hold on. I need to pause before I reply to you right now. But I think it like Pastor Mike said, it's imperative that you have that balance. Like as much as there's going to be that tension, and they're going to try to find their place in the family. Like they're going to try to find, how they fit and how to handle their own emotions and all of those things. But it's imperative for them to always know that love is the biggest part of our family. And, whether I'm not worried about dishes, I'm very worried about dishes. But when it comes to our relationship, I'm not worried about if the dishes are done or if your homework's done or if the grass is cut or if any of the things. Like, if you're hurting, that's what we need to be focused on right now. If there's something that you need to talk about, that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to be here for you for these times and for these instances that are hard. Even if you're mad at me and you don't want to talk to me, that's the time we need to talk.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, that moment where you're angry, you're frustrated, but you still love them, teaching them that is one of those deeper teachable moments that you'll have in life. The moment that, and this is very real, I love you, I will never leave you, I will always be with you, but I don't like you right
Yes.
now.
Yes.
That's a
real.
very real thing.
That's real. I will love you forever.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will never go anywhere. But
Yeah.
right in
Right
this
now,
moment, I'm going to
I
give
don't
you
like
a
you
piece
that
of my mind.
My
you know?
wife's really good at that with me. Really good.
So I think that if we can express that,
Yeah.
let them see the frustration
Yeah.
and let them know that we love them and we're never going anywhere.
Yeah.
If you can do that, man, what a huge thing they've learned.
Yeah. I tell my kids all the time, like in different scenarios, like this is a life lesson. Like this is not just a right now thing. This is something that you're going to be able to use in all of your relationships. When we're talking about just the kids, I'll tell the boys, you treat your sister like you would treat your wife.
Right.
Like that's how when she gets on your nerves, I understand, she's younger than you, but at the same time, you need to have grace with her and you need to show her how a male is supposed to treat her. So that's what we're practicing right now.
Right.
And I guess I maybe never thought of it, but like that's what I'm teaching them as well in the way that I react in those situations, this is the way that you're going to interact in your marriage. You know, when you have a partner and there is a disagreement, you need to take that time and talk about it in the moment. You need to be able to, you know, use that communication that you've built over time as a way to address that. So I think it's really important for us to have that open communication and be able to talk through those things, even when we're frustrated, to know that even if I'm frustrated, I still love you.
You know, when it's just sitting here, it made me think of it. I don't think I ever remember a fight with my children, or even an argument, a real argument with my children, traveling, like on vacation or something. And I've always made a big deal about that, family vacation, because I think that's the moment. I mean, look, we go on family vacation and Tina will buy a puzzle and they'll put together a puzzle. Puzzles don't exist in our world outside of family vacation, but we'll do that there. And so I think that time, that unscripted, unfettered, uncluttered time.
Yeah.
I think that's when those conversations happen, and I think you have to build those in.
I feel like
I'm not even sure that's where we were.
Well, but I feel like that's good to build in to, especially now. Everybody's at home.
It doesn't have to be a cool vacation.
Right. Yeah.
Just unscripted, uncluttered time where I expect you to be here, and the expectation for us was so high that when Robert and Amanda, before they got married, but they were engaged, and she was going to go on vacation with us. And I said, this is our vacation time. And she, I forget what she said, something about work. And I said, oh, you're going to have to change that. And he said later on, she asked him about it, and he went, oh, no. Yeah. He's serious. Yeah. You know, and it's like
cut it off.
Because, you know, I will change the date, but once I set the date, we're all going.
Yeah.
And we're not going to talk about it anymore. Yeah. So, you know, but I'll let you be part of the planning. Yeah. But once it's planned, we're going, because that matters, you know. And I think that uncluttered, unscripted time is huge.
Yeah. Well, we just had. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. But we just had that with Noah, our oldest one.
Oh, yes.
He turned 13 in February, and Dave and I decided when they were babies that when they turned 13, we were going to take them away together, just them and us. Like that's it. And we just had that for the first time with him, and it was really great time for us to disconnect from home life and to allow for those conversations. Like we did have some really great connecting time with just him to talk about what's going well in our family, what's not going well, how are you feeling, because you can get lost, especially in bigger families. Like everybody can feel a little lost at times. So to allow them to have that voice and space and margin to have those unscripted conversations and to check in with them.
Because that's when you're going to find out how they feel
right.
about something.
Yeah, exactly.
This bugs me. Why is your hair under my armpit? I don't understand. You know, that's where that conversation's going to happen. And by the way, hair under the armpit makes the cute go away real fast.
But then it happens when you're just randomly driving a car. Like we were just driving, and he just like, hey, Mom, you know, we'd ask some question. I'd be like, oh, I've been trying to get you to talk to me for months.
And you want to cry in the car all of a sudden.
But I feel like that helps. Having that individual time, like building that in, can be really important, especially in this stage, you know, of, you know, growing and puberty and, you know, all of the hormonal changes. Right. Just having that time. Actually, Ethan, well, I said it now. Yep. My bad.
Wasn't me, bro. You said it.
But Ethan plays basketball, and so there have been a couple times where my mom will keep the other kids at home, and I'm just going to take him to the game. Right. And that 15 minutes that we're driving to the school is golden. Yeah. Right. It is such cherished time for me just to be able to, and sometimes, you know, 7 or 8 minutes of it, it's just us singing and I mean just being together. Oh my gosh.
That. I loved taking my kids to school. I hated when we started putting them on the bus because I enjoyed the time. I mean, sure, they're cranky and it's first thing in the morning and they're ready, but all of a sudden I've got them in the car, and if they are in the right mood, they talk.
Yes.
And so I love that time.
Dave's finding that now. He'll say, Noah and I had a great conversation about cars. Talked about it the whole way. Yeah. But after school, if he's like, hey, Noah, you want to know this fact about this? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, puberty's still real. Okay.
I enjoy.
Moment's over.
I enjoy being the bus driver for my
Oh,
kids,
yeah.
you know, and I lament the fact that we're so close to the school that it doesn't like you look up and like, wow, we're
3
already here.
minutes.
Yeah,
No, really, honey, we have to take this detour.
yeah. No, I gotta
Time around this again.
The road's closed up ahead. I think they moved the school.
They relocated.
But yeah, like
after the corona.
we've developed our own little routines, and so like we do carpool karaoke, and you know we can be goofy together. And when we're in line, it's time. It gives us time to have these conversations.
Yeah.
And I was taught, one of my spiritual fathers said, "Don't invest in material, invest in moments with
Yeah.
them,
Yes.
because those are the things that are going to stay with them for the long haul."
Yeah.
And it just gives you enough opportunity to detour out of your normal routine of I've got 1,000 things that are on my list that I have to get done, and they're already thinking about school and all of the social interactions and all that. But when we have those moments away, when we break out of the normal routine, we can actually sit and enjoy each other's company. Whether that's their love language or not,
Right.
they get to spend quality time. And really, I think the difficult thing for them is they want that all the time, and all of us
Families
know
of
that it's not.
multiples.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I will say this, that on this side of it, on this end of parenting, I'm going to give you some good news and some bad news and some advice.
Can we? Which one do we start with?
The good
the
news,
Band-Aid,
the good
please.
news is those wonderful moments with your kids, they always come back, and you remember them, you know, and they're great, and you remember 'em. The bad news is, as far as I'm 53 now, and the second guessing doesn't stop so far. Maybe.
Did you do it right?
Yeah.
Maybe with memory issues in my 80s, I would struggle with it.
I did such a good job.
The second guessing stage. But here's the advice that I wish I had known then, but I think we did a decent job at. Even though the second guessing, should I have done this? 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 Even though that doesn't go away, at least for me, if the memories, if the warm memories, if the good memories, if those outweigh these, then when these pop up, it doesn't take long for one of these to fall off the shelf and kill it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I think I do think, looking back, we've always liked every next stage better with our kids, and I do think that's just because we tried to pile up the experiences.
Yeah.
Not the stuff. So
I think that warm and fuzzy moment is a great stopping point for us. And listen, if you're watching this now during this coronavirus crisis and this quarantine, please take away from this, it's never too late to have an opportunity to sit down and open up the dialogue
Slow
with
down.
your child.
Yeah.
Schools are out right now. Folks are off from work. Before you go stir crazy, take the opportunity of this rather than looking at it negatively.
Very important.
And open up, get a puzzle out. You know, change your
By the
routine.
way,
I've had
hate
puzzles if you need a puzzle. I've got puzzles.
I love puzzles.
Lots of puzzles.
Yeah,
Big
just
puzzles, little
we
puzzles.
do them on vacation.
500 or less. When you get over 1,000 pieces, that's just ridiculous. But this is an opportunity to sit down together, and to, whether your kid is 5 or 15, this is the time to start the dialogue that's going to pay dividends in the long run.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we'll be able to talk more about this and some other topics that are helpful to you guys that are watching. But right now, be sure you tune in, like, subscribe, and share this conversation. And we'll see you next time for our next episode of The Parenthood.
We'll see.
You always love, always pursue.